Can you give us a quick sort of in a nutshell appraisal of your presentation, what it was about today and what the information that you shared?
Yeah, today I've been sharing about generating energy from manure. So what we're really looking at here is how we can recover the residual energy that remains in manure after it's obviously feed's been digested by animals, and utilise that for the big energy requirements of the feedlot, which are typically your feed mill, gas usage, and possibly electricity.
And that'd be pretty topical given what we saw this morning, what Don was talking about at Ranges Valley. It's something that you think more and more feedlots are going to be moving into?
Yeah, look, energy prices are going up and there's no reason to believe that that trend's going to stop. So it's a cost. It's not the biggest cost at a feedlot, but it's a cost nonetheless. At Kerwee here, they use around 7,500 gigajoules of gas energy a year. That's over 200 grand worth of gas, and then about 260,000 kilowatt hours of electricity as well. So you got another 60 odd thousand. You're getting close to $300,000 in energy costs a year. And the manure, just from a standing point of view, you've got probably 40,000 gigajoules of energy that's residual in manure after it's been digested from animals. But the tricky thing really is how to harness that energy. It's there, certainly from the point when it's excreted out of the animal, but getting that through into the form that you need it to run a feed mill, well, that's the really challenging part. Yeah, we've been doing some research work and then also some economic feasibility work. And it's probably the latter part that is really significant. We know we can harness energy out of manure. You can burn it. There's places in the world where they are combusting manure, and then there's a couple of different derivations, if you like, around thermal energy recovery. So that would be gasification or pyrolysis, and they just differ in the amount of oxygen basically that you supply to the manure while you're harnessing the energy out of it. The alternative approach is to take an anaerobic digestion type approach. That's already naturally occurring in your feedlot pond, but the pond doesn't actually receive very much manure, so we're not really looking at just a simple covering of the pond. That would yield you a bit of gas, but not enough to make a significant difference. Ranges Valley and a couple of other places are looking at full-scale digesters where they would actually feed the manure in. Now there's really a few issues, and they relate to manure quality that are worth touching on here. The first is, if you're looking at any sort of combustion technology, it makes sense. You've got to have the material very dry, basically less than 25% moisture, to be seriously looking at that. Otherwise, you've got to drive that moisture off, and that bleeds energy out of the system. The second is how much contamination's in that manure. Ash content, which is really driven mostly by soil, or gravel, is a big issue. We've got feedlots, up to 75% of the material that's coming out of the pens is actually soil or gravel, and obviously you can't do anything with that material. It's just going to clog up whatever you look at. So you're really going to have to sort out that contamination issue as number one, regardless of whether you're thinking about a digestion or a combustion type approach. And then depending on how wet the material is, that may favour you more towards a digestion approach if it's a wet material. If you can get a good quality dry material out, well, that would lean you a little bit more towards the combustion, gasification, pyrolysis type approach. But then the last thing, and this is really the snag, I suppose, is just the economic feasibility. These technologies have been used in different parts of the world. Anaerobic digestion is a very mature technology, so there's thousands of plants around the world doing this. The testing point is, can you get the material rapidly out of the pen into a digester fast enough to make it pay? You're looking at a high investment type situation, $5 to $25 million. So we're talking a pretty significant type investment, and the feasibility of that's going to be a real issue. Same thing with the combustion things. Again, your technologies actually aren't as mature there, and there'll be people out there talking about pyrolysis and biochar and so on. There's very few commercial enterprises anywhere in the world, and again, your costs, you know, at a feedlot like this, you might be looking at $8 million investment to get a plant up and running. And then you've also got to realise that this is what we call like a bleeding edge technology. So if you're the first person in, you can expect to be, you know, really dealing with a few issues along the way to get it working. Now, all that being said, energy prices are going to go up, so there's the interest is starting to filter through into the industry now. That's going to continue because those price points, at some point in time, this is going to be, you know, a real goer, I guess, and so it's worth starting to think through even just those really practical issues. How can you get a really good clean manure product out of your pens, and then starting to add together the pieces, knowing your energy demand, that and your energy costs are going to differ depending on what you're running on, but if you're running a steam flaker, you're a bigger feedlot, and you think you can get a good clean quality manure product out, well, you've ticked off a few boxes anyway to start looking into this further.